So what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're here with a good brother by the name of Denis Duke. He's out of Uganda, and we want to talk to him a little bit about definitely the media and definitely their portrayal of the African continent. And this brother is in Uganda. So Denis, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me or hosting me today on the show. I'm very, very, very much pleased to be, of course, going to be sharing some of my experiences and some things that possibly could help a person out there.
All right, Denis, like I said, just for people who, don't know much about you and what's your story, can you share with the audience a little bit, just your story, how you got to, where you're at today and also your progress.
Okay, my name is Denis Woniala, but I prefer calling myself or being called Denis Duke, Uganda, and that's actually my YouTube channel. I am a Ugandan journalist, and I've worked for the last couple of 8 years in the media. That was, of course, after I went to school and graduated. That's after my graduation, and the journey has been quite interesting, an interesting journey. Much as, of course, it has a couple of other challenges as well, but I've managed to overcome those particular challenges, and I've worked for a couple of companies, about 3 media houses, excluding the ones where I did, of course, my internship and a bit of training. The ones I call professionally with 3. One is WBS TV, which apparently was sold off and it changed to another station. From there, I left WBS and then I joined Urban TV, which is under Vision Group. Now, Vision Group is partly co-owned by government, and it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, media house in the country. It has quite a vast, range of services that it does, because it has newspapers, it has radio, it has TV, it has about 3 TV stations. And I was very pleased to have worked for that media house because it gave me an exposure, but also an opportunity to challenge myself to work for about 3 TV stations under one company. So I was creating content, but distributing it to almost all the platforms. That not only the TV, but sometimes we would have our stories air or being published in the newspapers. We had magazines, we had online. So it was quite a vast experience for me, having worked with Vision Group. But also after that, I left and I went to NBS TV, where I worked for some time, and eventually I did, quit, having had my share of experience as well. And yeah, I'm now an independent journalist, more or less a freelance.
All right, so the difference between independent journalism and working for a corporate media house, at least in Uganda, what is the differences that you have seen since you kind of done both?
Between being independent and freelance.
Yeah, and the corporate media houses, because the corporate media houses, they're pretty much controlled, right? I mean, like they tell you what to say, or how does it work?
Okay. Of course, on a general scale, working with a media company is quite interesting because, you have access to a number of resources, you have access to a couple of things. But being a freelance journalist or an independent journalist is quite hectic, because you've got to struggle all the way through to have these resources or these services, some of the things that you possibly may need. But also, working for a media house means you are subjected to some sort of in-house rules and regulations or guidelines that govern the station. I mean, there are certain things you're supposed to do, there are certain things you're not supposed to do. That's very okay. But coming from that background, I also learned a couple of things that are helping me as an independent journalist or a freelance journalist, because at the end of the day, the same policies that were in place that were safeguarding us as journalists at those particular media houses are more or less the same that should be exercised while at this end, because at the end of the day, you'd not want to be caught on the wrong side of the law. So I mean, there are certain things that you have to follow even when you're independent in your own way, but also it gives you the benefit of being independent is that it gives you an opportunity to have a vast of things that you can do. For example, while I was working with Vision Group, there are certain things I would not say Also when it was directed to government, since it is a government or state-owned media house. So now that I'm independent, it's quite, unique. I can say anything and still get away with it. But how have I said it? How do I say it should be in accordance with the ethics and the norms of being a journalist?
Okay, so but you say there's certain rules and regulations, and this is what I wanted to get at, for instance. Well, when you work for, like, let's say in America, right? If your person works for a CNN or MSNBC or even Fox News, there's certain people they can't really say much about unless the bosses say, okay, you could talk about this, you could talk about that. Did you experience that working for the different companies, or they kind of let them to kind of talk about what they want to talk about?
Like I told you, Uganda is one of those countries that is still struggling with, media freedom, because much as, yes, the government claims, yes, we have freedom, the truth of the matter is we actually don't have that freedom as it is being said by different leaders, or as it has been written in the constitution. You realize that a journalist has, certain things he's supposed to discuss, and then the others. So there's always that back and forth between government and journalists. So there is not as much independence of the media as it is perhaps in different countries that are well structured, well developed. Uganda, we are a bit backward in terms of the independence of journalists or journalism as a profession. And this, of course, has its own disadvantages. I mean, certain things are not well represented, certain things are not well discussed. So it's a bit mixed up when it comes to independence and freedom of journalists.
So, and I've seen that issue in the continent, where you could talk about, for instance, you could talk about whatever you want to talk about on the continent of Africa, but you got to watch what you say about the leaders, at least within your own country.
Sorry?
I said that I've noticed that in certain countries, maybe not all, that if you're doing media, you could talk about whoever you want to talk about, but you got to watch what you say about the leaders within your own country.
Yeah, sure. It does happen as well in Uganda. I mean, we've seen a number of journalists apparently who've talked anything negative about the government, and they've ended up either being incarcerated, imprisoned, arrested, or something like that. Like there's always intimidation on the journalists when it comes to reporting about certain things, and as a result, well, the quality of journalism somehow is being affected as a result of that.
Oh, of course it's affected, because I mean, you're not going to say certain things that's actually going on if you're thinking about your family and hey, if I say this, I report this, and I'm gonna go to jail. So basically, in order to have certain things reported, it needs to be reported basically from someone outside the country. Is that safe to say?
Sorry?
I said that if you want something reported, like for instance within the country, it's better for someone outside the country to report it more so than someone in the country.
Yeah, sure. Because here, I mean, even what makes it even more difficult to report it while you're here, as opposed to somebody that is out, is because even the organizations that have been put in place to somehow, safeguard the dignity, the rights of journalists and journalism as a whole, are not as strong as we should be, or they should have been. I mean, they are still a little bit weak, and some of them apparently have been, they are also working for the state. I mean, that is where they get funding. So you can't stand out and say, okay, I'm gonna do this because it's the right thing, because this.
Yeah, your internet froze up for a minute, brother. Oh, okay. You had froze there just for a minute. You said something about the journalists, even with I guess some other organizations. What you were saying? Because I said it froze a minute.
Okay, I was saying that journalists who are in Uganda could report about certain things, but with a limitation, as opposed to journalists who report about Uganda but are not in Uganda, for reasons that I earlier explained. where there are no freedoms of journalists as such. Like much as, yes, we talk about it, they're in the books written, the constitution, they're not well observed. Now, this is also reflected by the fact that the organizations in the rights of journalists are actually not doing that because of a few reasons here and there. One of them being the fact that some of these organizations are actually getting money from government, from the state. So at the end of the day, there's some sort of contradiction in there on who exactly to defend, either the journalists that they are supposed to work for or government that is that is sponsoring their activities.
Okay, so let's talk about, like the situation which we talk about a lot here about the Chinese on the African continent, and we even talked about the Chinese doing some crimes in Uganda not too long ago. Could you report on the Chinese, or do they have an issue with you constantly reporting on the Chinese?
Apparently, there has not been any issues when it comes to reporting about them, because I mean, otherwise you would never have known about it if at all we were never given the opportunity to report about it. The challenge, however, is we are not accorded as much access to some things as we should have. For example, like the police usually takes on the case, and you're limited in terms of information, and sometimes they don't want to give you certain information regarding these particular nationals, the Chinese nationals that they've arrested, and so it leaves us sometimes hanging. And what is so disturbing is that these people have some money, and so they can do anything. And so I don't want to say that the police takes bribes, but there's some sort of unclear way of how these cases have been, handled. You understand? Like somebody's arrested today, and then you follow up tomorrow. They don't have any information to where this person is. They will only tell you he's released on bond, he's released on bail. But yet the crime that they committed was an aggressive was a big crime that really was deserving them to maybe be presented before court and charged or anything related to that. So because of the fact that, yes, China has a lot of influence in Africa, they are investing a lot in Africa. Sometimes their nationals who are caught on the wrong side of the law get away with it just because of that.
Oh, so you think they're maybe, I'm not saying the police, but you think they're probably, they're maybe the person with the Chinese government is probably paying or trying to have influence over the local governments and saying, hey, well, let them out, or let them, or at least support them, or because I noticed the stories always with the Chinese, I don't see them going to African prisons. I always see them be arrested, and then you hear them being deported back to China.
No, what happens is the laws of every person that is in a country is governed by the laws of that country. And so what does that mean? It means that if somebody is arrested in Uganda, while it's true that they may be repatriated to face the law in their own countries, it is also clear under our law to be charged for whatever the case. So what happens? Somebody has raped someone, a Ugandan, and then you say, okay, we are deporting you. Is that justice? It is not. So the justice we are talking about is they should face the law and the consequences, just like any other citizen, before they are actually repatriated. So that's where there's some sort of disconnect.
Yeah, that's what we have noticed. So because that kind of bothered me every time I saw it. It's not just Uganda. Is I saw this in Kenya or other places. They've done things where they don't go to jail in the country, like the people, like the citizens will go to jail. They just say, oh, they were deported. Oh, they sent them back to China. Oh, they did. Like they never do time. And I've seen people say, well, that's not right, because if I did it, I would have went to jail. I would have went to prison or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the Chinese are treated, a lot different when they do. And a lot of times they've been caught stealing resources. Like I said, they had that big thing where they were trying to do all this stuff with the cell phones, and and bringing illegal things to the country. Now, let me ask you another question about the Chinese when they come in. I was reading that a lot of times the Chinese come in with a visa, but they expire and then they don't go back. Like, do you guys I'm just asking, have like a immigration service that like go and investigate people who should have been left the country, but they don't look for them, or what? I'm just trying to figure that part out.
One of the beautiful things I love about this country is we have friendly people. The people here are not like any not like any other people elsewhere in the world, like where they take precaution of who is in our neighborhood, who is this person, what is he legally supposed to be here. Our people are somehow relaxed, they are friendly, they are okay. So as a result, much as yes, the immigration does the work of following up these people, sometimes they manage to play around the systems, and before you know it, they can't be traced by the system the system that is in place. But also, it happens because we are a friendly country. People don't even mind who is staying at the next door, just like that. And so that is one of the loopholes that these guys are actually using to stay in the country. But trust me, there are a lot of people. In fact, even some not just stay after the expiry of their visas and all that, but they come into the country as though they are going to invest. They even do all the procedures necessary for an investment, and eventually they don't invest. What they do is they engage into the normal day-to-day business like an ordinary person, and they do petty job that Ugandans would possibly be doing, and that's one of the reasons some Ugandans. That's why you see. That's exactly what I'm telling you. Ugandans are very friendly. Otherwise, in another country like maybe South Africa, where people take law in their hands, you'd find them, attacking these guys and all that. But you see, we are friendly, so such things can't happen here. But I mean, you're very right. There are so many of them who come and have their documents expire, and then they don't even renew them, and they even stay in the country. It's only once in a while when the police or the immigration services get to land on them, but some of them are enjoying the benefits anyway.
Okay, so let's ask a question. So if a Black American came over, or a few Black Americans, I always ask this question. They come over, they was to say do everything the right way, business or whatever, and they say their visas expired or whatever. Like they say, everybody's friendly, they don't care. And so if we was to come, let's say, but most of the time we do things right. We're not coming there to commit crimes or nothing like that. We just want to come and work with the people. Everybody just welcoming. Everybody's just saying, hey, come do business, come open up this, come open up that, and everything's good.
I didn't get the question.
Okay, what I was saying is that Black Americans, they come over, and from one of my research is that when Black Americans come, they follow the laws, how to come into the country, not like the Chinese, or they'll try to get around the laws or maybe follow half the laws so they can stay. So if Black Americans came and invest and things like that, and if they wanted to get like citizenship, that could be easier for them to obtain.
Yeah, it is very easy. I mean, we've seen quite a handful of people come right from America or even elsewhere in the world, and they've settled here. Our laws are not that strict as long as you somehow follow them the right way. And there's, because of the fact that our president has always opened the borders for investment, he's always calling people to come and invest. So such a person would be very, very, very much welcome to come and invest, because then they will be helping us deal with some of the problems that we are currently faced with. For example, high youth unemployment. So if such a person came, I'm very certain, 100% sure that they will be accorded all the necessary, assistance that is required for them to actually settle here. Just that if they followed the law.
So basically what you're saying is if a person come in and they want to bring in jobs, for instance, they say, hey, I want to, let's use us for an example. Let's say African Diaspora News Channel wanted to go to Uganda, and we wanted to have, Ugandan, journalists to continue what we do here, kind of in the style that we do things. And we hiring Ugandans. We got a whole, so you say the government would be like, okay, you guys are good. We want to help you guys. That's basically kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, sure. Once what happens is you have to come with your proposal, with your idea of what you want to do first, and
Mhm.
then show them that okay, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm gonna do it, and this is how it's gonna benefit the populace. Why not? They'll definitely have to let you in.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I always say, you're letting all the Chinese in. With shoot, we all should come and do business all over the country, right? I mean, and that's so with the future of Uganda. You got all COVID-19 going on right now, and the borders have been shut down. Do they know when they'll start opening the borders and travel again? Because like boy, I mean, COVID-19 just really messed up a whole lot of things with travel. At least on my side, it has. But have you kind of heard like when travel gonna start again?
Um, Currently, we are still under a lockdown, and we, as a country, we are all observing the Ministry of Health guidelines that were given to us, I think, a month and a half ago. Uh, the lockdown was was meant to be lifted on the 5th of May this year, this month. Unfortunately, the president sought it wise because he was advised by the Ministry of Health to have it extended for a period of more 14 days. So we've moved about eight days. So we are waiting for more 5 days to get to 5 or 6 days before the lockdown. That was the additional days, the 14 days before they. So we are still waiting for what will come out. Maybe what the Ministry of Health will advise the president on what to do. But according to speculations and from some really confirmed sources that I know from the big people, is we might as well get another 21-day extension because they think that the country is not yet safe to have the lockdown lifted. Why? Is because the numbers are actually increasing on a daily basis. Around the last statistic I remember is around 139. So we are the numbers are increasing, and this is not something that is coming from within the community, but most of the people that are increasing the numbers are coming from our neighboring countries. So if they do lift the lockdown, it means they'll be letting people in, and before you know it, we could have a second phase, which might even have or be very adverse as opposed to the first phase of infections that we've had as a country. So the possibility of lifting the lockdown and having people travel again might take a little bit longer than expected. But even then, my thinking tells me that even after they've lifted the lockdown and allowed people to travel, most of the measures that we are currently following are going to continue for a certain period of time until we are more clear that, okay, we are COVID free entirely. Maybe as the East African region. Remember, the East African region works closely together. We have the truck drivers coming into the country, hours going there, people moving all over. So this whole mixture could bring another second phase of infections, which we wouldn't want to have as a country. So it's still debatable as when people should be expected to travel again as normal.
Yeah, and how has COVID-19 affected the economy? Because I know the economy has been affected definitely in America, but how has it affected the economy in Uganda? Because I mean, I know a lot of people, they really can't be locked down like that, for the most part. So how is it affected over there?
Yes, well, just like any other economy on the African continent or elsewhere, whether America or China, big economies are still having challenges. So look at our economy, which is a bit small. So it has also been affected in a way that our economy bases on the people that do the jobs day-to-day basis. So the sectors, those small sectors that I'm talking about. Imagine a situation where there is no cash, circulation in the economy. People are only depending, and they are not working. They are not paying taxes, and yet, at the moment, like right now, Uganda as a country is supposed to be in its final stages of formulating the budget that would take us for yet another year. And the fact that we are still in that mess of COVID-19. Most of the things have not been met. Most of the targets have not been met. For example, our national revenue authority was supposed to collect a certain given amount of money, but due to COVID-19, it has not reached that target. So you realize that our budget will be affected because, well, the monies won't be as enough or adequate as we thought, as the projections were, because of COVID-19. So a lot of businesses have been affected, first of all. A lot of people have lost jobs, are continuing to lose job, and will eventually lose job even after the COVID-19, because companies are now trying to downsize on the numbers, because, I mean, they cannot survive with the huge workload. So you realize that it is interconnected. When somebody doesn't have a job, it means their family is going to be affected. They won't be spending as they should, meaning the tax revenue will also go below, among many other things. So that's how we are affected as a country.
Yeah, and then tourism was bringing in a lot of money to the local people who had their businesses, correct?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so since tourism is basically down to zero, I mean, that caused a lot of people to suffer, right?
And it's not just down to zero for now, but it might continue for even after when they lift the lockdown, because I'm not very certain that a person will, right now, even if you love traveling how much, I'm not very sure that after opening the borders, somebody will be interested in moving that much. I'm very certain the numbers will still be small, or the number of people that will be coming in will still be very, very low. And when the number is low, you know the results. People won't be getting the monies as they used to. And so their incomes will be affected, their families will be affected, and in turn, government will also be affected. Because then they will be dependent.
All right. So yeah, froze there. You was talking about even after the lockdown and people not going to travel, probably as much at first due to what was definitely going down. That's kind of like what you was alluding to at that time period before we got cut off. Okay. So with that being said, Dennis, tell people my they can get to your content, and let people know how they can watch what your productions are with your media company.
My channel is I have two channels. One is called Duke's Media TV. I recently started profiling people, different people, and also talking about Africa's, some of the things that people should know about Africa. But also my main channel, which is Denis Duke Uganda, focuses mainly on celebrity news, Ugandan news, mainstream news that some people or companies may have not been able to fully elaborate. So I come in and try to give a life to them. But also I do personal experiences, finance. I give people advice about finance. So it will be a very, very great opportunity to come and join me at Denis Duke Uganda. That's my YouTube channel.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go and join our brother Denis Duke. Check out his channel. See what he got going on. Definitely. With the different content. And Dennis, we definitely thank you for joining us on the show today, brother, and informing us what's going on in Uganda. And I hope everything, gets better with COVID-19 so we all could get back to our regular lives.